November riots. Caught in the crossfire, I was trying to find my way home from a vigil where I'd spent the previous night when I got walloped by soldiers. It was a late evening, minutes after 6 p.m. when I set out on my journey. Along Midiana Road, like many other places in and out of Kampala, had been lit with fires. Some Ugandans were protesting the arrest of presidential candidate Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, a Bobi Wine. Were they wrong to do so? I don't think so, but that's subject to debate. Were they doing it the right way? No, but justifiably yes. In a country where citizens have gradually become unaccustomed to peaceful expressions of anger, dissatisfaction, and discontentedness, riots have become the norm. The new normal, just like wearing a mask or washing your hands every now and then. Because over the years, Ugandans have watched their civil liberties and constitutional rights, as well as social democracy, slip away. Those taking it away have been intent in their actions and decisions, slowly by slowing, closing the spaces while calling them gaps. Ask yourself, what are the odds that police would grant security and guidance, not permission, reference to the Public Order Management Bill, to a group of Ugandans if they wanted to peacefully demonstrate? Chances of that happening are equivalent to those of Norbert Mao becoming in the next bishop. After being priced out of transport charges that sought to ride me out of Bulenga to Ndiba, I had resorted to footing part of the journey as I tried to find means that would fit my budget. Unless I was Mutbile's housekeeper or gardener, there was no way I could pay 15,000 shillings for a strip that usually costs 4 or 5,000 shillings. The goal was to cross through the city, Kampala, and end up beyond Namasaba. I was trying to get home. Among the many boda rides I stopped, one had been kid enough to put me on notice that bodas weren't going beyond Ndiba at that time. Although it was after 6:40 p.m., past their curfew time, I knew that wasn't the reason for this. The place had been plunged into chaos. I was walking as fast as I could to get home. I managed to get a boda somewhere before Haas fuel station in Busega, but it could only take me as far as Natit. The rider was also trying to get home. If you're familiar with Natit, then you know that day and hours into the night, it's a lively place, one of busiest in Kampala. But it looked like a ghost town. Still desperately trying to find a taxi that could ferry me to Ndiba, I was heading towards Comprehensive Hotel when I noticed people hurriedly walking a little faster than I was, with some running in a jogging manner, visibly desperate to get to their respective homes. I, too, wanted to walk faster, but I was exhausted, drained by the distances I'd walked to this point, and from the little sleep I'd managed to catch when I went to my folks' place earlier on in the day, before returning for a vigil mass at the deceased home and a dad to a dear friend. Among those that came running was a guy that shouted, not directly to me or anyone in particular, but as general communication, that Abusaja VWA Maj Buja, military, loosely translated, Army men are coming. That's when I changed my mind. I knew I wasn't going to make it back to my place. It was time for Plan B. Obviously not Besige's Plan B. Not sure anyone knows what that is. Return to my folks' place and spend the night there. Take a long cold bath and have a deep slumber. So I turned around and took Nakawuka Road. It was a few meters in when, almost approaching Family Loaf Bakery, when I heard runners behind me. Instinctively, I thought it was just other people rushing to get home. A glance at the back, and it was soldiers, chasing and whipping anyone they could find. Obviously, my earlier instincts had betrayed me. By the time I started running, they were already on my heels. I turned while raising my hands, not in surrender because I knew that wouldn't help. We were way past that point, but rather trying to shield my head with the jacket I was carrying when the first swing of a cane caught me by the upper arm. I ran, but perhaps it wasn't fast enough for the soldiers. The one in charge, their commander, I assume, ordered them, speaking mostly in Swahili, to charge further and wallop us in a statement that ended with the word motivation. Another set of boots behind my heels when I turned back again, only to be smacked in the head. Where I was heading, there was traffic caused by fires lit in the middle of the road, but also by opportunistic gangs ahead that had set up roadblocks, soliciting money from car owners for passage. One attempted throwing a rock at a small pickup truck that I assumed had refused to part with a single coin. Somewhere along the way, at the end of the tarmac, I had managed to jump on a boda that had a lady passenger on it. I successfully made it home, early enough for a late cup of evening tea, but just in time for dinner. I had started developing a headache, with part of my head swollen as a result of the whip. My Annie, visibly concerned, and as always was quick to provide relief medicine and aid that included hot water. A continuation of the riots the following day had several sections of road blocked, lit with fires and later on bullets flying that I ended up failing to leave home for burial. And soon as the first gunshot was heard, my auntie was quick to pass the parental order, forbidding me to leave home. It wasn't until the following day, Friday, early in the morning that I managed to return to my place. I continuously learned of the gruesome murder of citizens by the security forces and gun-wielding goons that rocked the streets of Kampala in an attempt to quell the protests. It was ugly. A Black November. If you're an Arsenal fan, I'm sure you're familiar with the phrase. And on that note, let me once again take this opportunity to express my sincere condolences to the citizenry, families and friends that lost their own during and after those days. But I also watched painfully clips of criminal gangs that saw the protests as an opportunity to exploit, rob, and in some cases beat innocent people, not to mention a guy that attempted to hit a police officer with a hammer. At the end of it all, I was left with a couple of questions that I hope our leaders and key decision makers in this country, if they care anyway, should repeatedly ask themselves and ponder deeply about. How do we get here? Where do we go from here? Personally, I have an idea about the how and where, but it's all subject to debate. Hi everyone, this is Robert K. Circles. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast today. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, I'd be incredibly grateful if you could take a moment to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. Give us a like on your favorite podcast platform. Leave a comment letting us know what you thought. We love hearing your feedback. And if you know someone who might enjoy the show, please share it with them. Your support means the world to me and helps us reach more listeners. Thanks again for being a part of the Robert K. Circles community. Until next time, take care.